So as you guys know, there was an eviction moratorium that was set to expire when? Just now, July 31st, right? So because of the pandemic, because of COVID, you know, I mean, do we really have to go through this again? You know, the American government screwed its people. They passed all of these CARES Act, HEROES Act, which of course the squad happily voted for. You know, largest transfer of wealth in history. They just stuffed the pockets of these corporations and gave people crumbs, right? What did people get? They got a $600 check in December. Biden lied about the $2,000 stimulus check just now. It suddenly became $1,400. And there was another check under Trump, like 3 checks. Meanwhile, trillions went to corporations, right? Now, one of the things that I think Biden did when he got elected, right? So one of the first executive orders he signed, there was an eviction moratorium. However, this was going back a bit before that as well. And the point here was that we knew when it was going to expire. We knew that it will expire on July 31st. You know, there were various remedies to kind of mitigate the fact that people received no, unemployment. They didn't receive any adequate social safety net. This is the problem, right? Is that the American government abandoned its people and screwed them. Millions facing eviction because they can't work. There's no social safety net like in other countries. This is what happened, right? Now, let me just read this to you. Apparently, the day that the eviction moratorium was set to expire, the United States House adjourned for a 6-week August recess. So they went on holiday. They went on vacation without passing an extension of the eviction moratorium, which expires Saturday, leaving millions of Americans at risk of losing their homes. This is scandalous. This is absolutely scandalous. Do you see how these people, they don't even just screw people outside the United States, they screw their own as well? It's so despicable. It really is. This shows you that it's all about class. It's all about, the fact that these politicians, they only benefit corporations. So what happened besides that? What happens besides that? Well, I want to play you a little clip. Besides the fact that they ran away on vacation, right? Which is not the first time. They've done this twice during the pandemic, during Trump's term. I want to play you a little clip from the squad from Cori Bush and AOC. Take a look at what they have to say about this.
And go out. We're going to let 7 million people go ahead and go out and hit the streets too. You all can go out, but then what? Then what happens? Because I thought those were the same people you were supposed to take care of.
So here's one thing that we could all do right now, because here's what's happened. Because when the House tried to adjourn, they moved to adjourn, Representative Bush and I, Cori and I, we started running to the House floor. Because, by the way, they didn't tell folks that this is what they were trying to do. They didn't tell folks that they were going to adjourn suddenly. So they tried to slip Congress adjourning without even members knowing. And so we started running, literally running full clip to the House floor to try to demand a roll call vote on adjourning Congress. To say, all right, if you want to leave, you actually need to put your name in against whether you wanted to leave or not wanted to stay. And so what they did was that there was a rush to adjourn before Cori and I could call the roll call vote. So what we need is for Congress to reconvene. And the CDC eviction moratorium needs to be extended because housing is a primary social indicator of health. If you are not housed, you are far more likely to be sick in a very large range of diseases. But beyond that, what we know is that the homes that are most at risk for being evicted are also in communities that are least vaccinated.
Yes.
So you push all of these people out of their homes and they're unvaccinated. They're susceptible to Delta, which is more contagious and more severe than even the first strain of COVID. And what we're signing ourselves up for is just a huge spread of disease. Housing is a lot like long-term unemployment. Once you are unhoused, it is very difficult to get housed again. Cori has spoken to this so eloquently so many times. So we need to get back here, and we need everyday people to stand up and create the political pressure, because that's what folks here respond to. They respond to whether they're going to keep their job or not. And that, frankly, is a measure of political pressure. And so Republican, Democrat, we need to be here in order to make sure that people do their job.
Okay, now that sounds all fine and dandy. I agree with what they're saying. The problem is that they're lying. I mean, they say, oh, we had no clue that people are going to adjourn, and we were running, and it's like, yeah, we were running. They're like narrating their moves like it's some action movie or something. We got there in the nick of time, but it was apparently too late, and they just left without us. We had no clue. Oh no, we just happened to work here with no fucking clue. Really, who buys this verbal diarrhea? Who believes this nonsense? You want to know how I know they're lying? And not just them, by the way. It's not just them who are lying. Take a look at this. Nancy Pelosi. What does Nancy Pelosi say? She says that the CDC has the power to extend the eviction moratorium. As they double down on masks, why wouldn't they extend the moratorium in light of Delta variant? Okay, first of all, that's not true. And you know why I know that's not true? Because literally last month, this is what happened. Take a look. The Supreme Court ruled that the CDC moratorium we're talking about the Center for Disease Control, has to stay in place until July 31st, right? However, they advised that Congress, not the CDC, Congress, make any further extensions via law. And they all knew this, Pelosi as well. So this is the ruling from the Supreme Court. 5 out of 4 justices voted in favor of this. That, we'll keep the moratorium in place until July 31st when it's set to expire. However, what does it say here? It says here that this is Justice Kavanaugh, right? So one of the Supreme Court justices. He says, I agree with the district court and the applicants that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention exceeded its existing statutory authority by issuing a nationwide eviction moratorium. And he said, because the CDC plans to end the moratorium in only a few weeks on July 31st, and because those few weeks will allow for additional and more orderly distribution of the congressionally approved rental assistance funds. By the way, they've only distributed 7% of that. I voted this time to deny the applicant to vacate the district court's stay of its order, right? So won't terminate it early. And then what does he say? What does he say? In my view, clear and specific congressional authorization via new legislation would be necessary for the CDC to extend the moratorium past July 31st. So the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, is literally saying on June 29th, that not the CDC, but Congress must make any extensions. And then Nancy Pelosi comes here and lies and says that it's the CDC who has the power to extend the eviction moratorium. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You goddamn liar. You goddamn liar. And you know what she said in another tweet? She said in another tweet that she led a fearless campaign. She led a fearless campaign to try and get an extension, right? So that Americans are not thrown out of their homes. And then in another tweet, she says that, well, we only found out that this eviction moratorium was about to expire like the day before. What? How did you lead a fearless campaign, a relentless campaign to extend the moratorium if you just found out one day before it expires? What a blatant contradiction. What a lie. And then she lies here again and says that it's all on the CDC. No, it's on you. And the Supreme Court told you a month ago. They told you on June 29th. You all knew that the shit is going to expire. And they didn't know just on June 29th. June 29th was just saying that, look, it's not the CDC's job to do this. It's Congress' job. They knew already months and months ago that this eviction moratorium would expire on July 31st. They knew that millions of Americans could face eviction because the country is a capitalist, greedy machine. They take care of their own. Nancy Pelosi was eating ice cream in front of her $11,000 fridges, giving trillions to Boeing and God knows what other corporations. She was giving money she was giving that PPP, small business money, to dark money groups and lobbyists, the scourge of Capitol Hill. That's what they were busy doing. That's who they were taking care of. Meanwhile, everyone else got crumbs. And of course, they all voted for it. Bernie Sanders included, every single one. Look, there are two constants in American politics. And perhaps you need someone who's not American to tell you this. So I'm going to do that. Support for Israel and support for corporations. That is all you need to ever know about American politics, right? That is it. These are two constants in the universe. So, of course, they all voted for it. Of course, they all voted for it. They're such goddamn liars. And then now they're putting on this show. They're going on Instagram Live, AOC and Cori Bush, and they're acting like, oh, we had no clue. Really? How the fuck do you work in Congress and you don't know that there's a Supreme Court ruling telling you, hey, you know your constituents, they're going to be thrown out of their homes in like a month. How do you not? What are you doing there? What are you doing there? How do I know this and you don't know this? Right? Because they're also pushing the slide like, oh my God, you know, we didn't know they're going to adjourn. Like, why would you leave this to the last minute? Why would you leave this to the last minute? Why would you vote? Okay, to be fair, Cori Bush and AOC did not vote for this, right? But they're all in on this game. This is the problem. They just take turns depending on the bill. Why would you vote to give Israel $3 billion and the same week you fail somehow to extend the eviction moratorium after the Supreme Court specifically said it's your job to do that? How on earth do you have time to take care of Israel, but you don't have time to take care of your own constituents? What country does that? What kind of country does that? What kind of people do that? You had the power. I told you, this aid for Israel, which was part of the foreign operations bill. This aid for Israel passed barely. It barely passed with 217 votes. They could have easily said, hey, in 5 days, the eviction moratorium expires. We are not giving you shit for Israel or anything else until we deal with this issue first. You don't comply? We're voting no and we're sinking the bill. No. Instead, they let the aid for Israel go through and then like, oopsie. Oh no, everyone went on holiday. They went on vacation. We're so sorry. We didn't, we didn't take care of people facing eviction, millions of Americans facing eviction. What the fuck is going on here? I mean, at best, these people, at best, they are such airheaded morons that they do not know how to legislate. They don't know how to play politics and deal with their fucking system there. And at worst, they are so utterly complicit in this corrupt cabal of goddamn neoliberals, this cesspit in Washington, D.C. What is going on here? Someone make this make sense, for God's sake. I find this unacceptable. I mean, I'm not even American and I'm outraged. I'm outraged. Everyone should be outraged. How do you take care of another fucking country? And not just taking care of another country, you give it money to murder Palestinians and Syrians and Lebanese, and then you don't take care of your own? That's what they've been doing the whole time. That's what they did with the HEROES Act. You remember with the HEROES Act what they did? They gave $2.5 million to friends of the IDF. IDF meaning Israeli Defense Forces, more like Israeli occupation forces. In any case, this Friends of the IDF, it's supposedly a nonprofit, and they work with the Israeli forces, the Israeli military, and they got $2.5 million in the HEROES Act. And what did Americans get? They got crumbs. And then again, what happened in December? Donald Trump, he gives $500 million to Israel for their missiles. And then just now again, what does Biden do? He passes more emergency weaponry for Israel, $740 million in that range worth of weapons. And now they give them $3.3 billion. Jesus Christ. Israel has received more money than Americans. I mean, it's always been that way, but you would expect perhaps during a pandemic some mercy, some leniency, some kind of compassion. No, it's screw you all the way. It's screw you all the way. And then they have the nerve to undertake this theater, this play. And it's not just that. Cori Bush, what does she do? She goes in front of Congress and she says that she's going to start sleeping there. Now, let's be very clear. I love this idea. Direct action, that's very good. Okay, I have nothing against that. My problem is, why did you not do this or think of this before? This is what I'm trying to understand. So, give me some kind of clarity here. I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. Just explain this to me. Just explain this to me, why you had the time to give money to people who steal my country's water and oil and kill and bomb Syria every week, but you didn't have time to take care of your own. I don't get it. And again, to Cori Bush's credit, she did not vote for the Israeli aid, so I can't blame her for that by any means. But there's an issue here, right? When they are saying that, we only found out at the last minute. How can you only find? Come on, man. Stop this. So in any case, Max Blumenthal, Grayzone, right? Good friend of the show. He goes and he asks Cori Bush for, he just talks to her in front of the Capitol. So take a look at this video. Take a look at this exchange, okay?
That's where we are.
And I heard, like, last night there was a lot less people. It's great to see so many more people, but I heard there was an intense debate about the role of the squad and why the squad didn't leverage its vote for the speaker for Medicare for all vote, and why the squad, I mean, with the margin so narrow in Congress, why the squad didn't
yes, because
leverage its vote on the stimulus to get a $15 minimum wage. What?
No. So first, one thing that was said last night, which is something that's very true, and I wish we would have talked about that this was where your conversation was going, because we're talking about the rally for tonight. And I really would love to keep the conversation on what's happening.
I feel like it's all related to healthcare and the...
It absolutely is, but this is the thing. What was said last night is that this bill, Medicare for All, is not, there's no person on the squad whose bill that is. That is Bernie Sanders' bill in the Senate. It is Pramila Jayapal's bill in the House. It is not our bill. We cannot make that bill come to the floor. There is nothing that we can do legally to get the bill to the floor. We have
But Pelosi could have brought the bill to the floor.
We're good here, thank you.
Well,
I'm sorry, Max. We're fine at this.
Why can't she answer the question?
We're here to talk about the eviction.
But I feel like it's all about healthcare.
Thank you.
No, really appreciate that.
Really appreciate your time.
We're here for a reason. It's about the moratorium.
Why is that? I can't ask about Medicare for all.
The Congresswoman has slept 1 hour. She's done a lot of labor.
I'm trying to get people out here too.
I respect your work.
I'm trying to do the same thing you all are doing.
Thank you for being here.
But why can't she could just answer it and then I go away? I'm not trying to attack her or anything. I'm not trying to smear her.
We're happy to give you a contact and you can reach out.
But why is that issue, the Medicare for all vote, so like she was wrapping up her? But she was wrapping up her. I know she was wrapping up her answer. Then I was going to say thank you. Everybody come out.
I appreciate.
But why didn't you let her just wrap up her answer?
I really appreciate you. We're happy to give you a contact. You can feel free to reach out. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks. Okay, they wouldn't even let her finish her answer. I mean, I thought it was a perfectly fine explanation, and I was just going to be like, okay, thank you for answering.
Land of the free, right? Democracy, right? Unaccountable. Right? You can't even ask a question. The staffers start jumping in front of him like bodyguards. I remember when Max tried to ask AOC about Venezuela, about Trump's coup in Venezuela, and she's like, we'll have to get back to you. And then one of her staffers jumps in the way and they just shut the door. They can't bring the bill to a vote on the floor. What nonsense. Max corrected her, Well, he didn't correct her. She knows goddamn well. Nancy Pelosi can do it. That's why why are we talking about leveraging your vote for Nancy Pelosi as speaker and not Donald Duck as speaker of the House? Because Nancy Pelosi is the one who could bring it to a vote. That's the whole point. You leverage her speakership versus a vote on the floor. You gonna act like you don't know what that means? I mean, in my view, I wouldn't vote for Nancy Pelosi under any circumstances. I mean, she's a monster. You can't trust her. She would never do that. Even if she had promised you, she's not going to do it. Why would you vote just out of principle? You should never give your vote to someone like that. But in any case, going back to the point here, do you see how they claim to be, we're different from the DC elites. We're different from Nancy Pelosi, and we're the squad. We're to the far left, whatever that means in a right-wing system. We're to the left. We're more accountable, and we're here to get business done. We're here, we're gonna walk the walk. We're not just all talk. Complete hot air. They know goddamn well what they're doing. They just take turns. This is exactly just like the aid for Israel, right? They say, okay, you guys vote no to look like you're dissenting, but we'll vote yes. Just enough of us will vote yes so that it passes, right? And we can still please the establishment. We can please Nancy Pelosi and Israel and everyone else, while still giving our constituents and our supporters and just the media in general this look, this facade, this notion, this mirage that we are somehow standing up to Democratic Party leadership and the establishment when they're not. Dude, when you're still passing your bills, you're not standing up to them. You're literally You're dancing for them. You're doing their work for them. That's what it is. And they do this with everything. Max brought up the Medicare for All thing, the forced to vote. But he also brought up the other things which I talked about when they happened, which I just talked about a few minutes ago, the $15 minimum wage. When it was gutted, they could have put their foot down and say, hey, why did you just take out the $15 minimum wage? We're not voting for this. No, they let it through. They let it through. They just let that aid for Israel through. They do these tricks. The Capitol Police funding. They're so good at it. They're so good at it, really. This is unbelievable, really. So like I said over here, let me get this straight. This week, Democrats got a bill passed to give Israel billions of dollars in weapons in spite of all Republicans voting no, which, again, as we talked about, was because of abortion, but couldn't help Americans who face eviction because of Republican obstruction. How convenient. Because over here, what Ice Cream Nancy is saying, she says, quote, ensuring every American has a roof overhead is a value that unites the Democratic Party. That's why I led a relentless campaign to extend the CDC eviction moratorium in an act of pure cruelty. Republicans blocked this measure, leaving children and families out on the streets. So again, hold on a second. Why is it the Republicans' fault? I mean, we just looked at this before. What Republicans did, they've all voted no, but you still got it passed when you wanted to. That didn't stop you from passing the goddamn bill. That didn't stop you at all. You still got it passed. Look, I'm going to pull it up again for you so you can take a look. There you go. Republicans all voted against it. Right? We're talking about the foreign operations where the aid for Israel's there. All the Republicans voted. You still got it passed. You didn't have any problem with that, but you're saying now you couldn't do anything about the eviction moratorium? What a bunch of lies. When it suits them, they can do whatever they want. When it suits them, they can, give money to murderers to buy weapons from their own military-industrial complex. They can give trillions to corporations. They can do whatever they want. But what a shame. They can never do the things that they actually ran on. $15 minimum wage, Medicare for all, making sure that their politics are rooted in human rights, as Jamal Bowman says, meaning don't give money to Israel. They can never do these things. What a shame. What a coincidence. But they just always somehow manage to muster just enough votes to make sure that Israel's agenda passes, Nancy Pelosi's agenda passes, Joe Biden's agenda passes. How incredible. How incredible. What an odd coincidence. This is the problem with American politics. They have one party and they got two wings. They got Republicans, they got Democrats. And everything is right wing. Okay? Maybe Americans don't see that. I think most Americans probably do. But Democrats, Republicans are both right wing. They're both right wing by anyone's standards. If Democrats were a party in Europe, they would be right wingers. They would be classified as right wingers. That's what they are. That's what their policies are. So both of these parties are right wing. We've established that. Both of these parties support the exact same agenda. They just feign. They pretend to have some kind of dispute amongst one another, but they're all playing on the same team. They all support Zionism. They all support imperialism. They all support corporations. They are the exact same shit. They're all neoconservatives. They're all playing together. So this is nonsense. When Nancy Pelosi comes and says, "Oh, the Republicans stopped us from doing this," this is horse manure. I don't buy this. No one should buy this. This is U.S. politics 101. Democrats and Republicans are on the same team. This is the first thing you learn, man. At least when I'm teaching you, which is common sense. That's 101. So this, you should not buy this. This is a lie. When she says that the Republicans blocked, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. You didn't even try. She just said in another tweet that she found out the day before. So there was no relentless campaign. She's a liar. There was no relentless campaign because she found out one day before, as she says in another tweet. She directly contradicts herself. Then she tries to blame the CDC when it's not her it's not their responsibility. It's Congress. Just lies after lies after lies. And this thing of, oh, it's the Republicans' fault. This is the oldest trick in the book. And the Republicans do the same thing. They say, oh, the Democrats are stopping us from doing this, obstruction, and pick your house. Like, this is the oldest trick in the book. They pretend to be on opposing sides so they can just play, they're playing catch while the American people are running, trying to catch the ball the whole time, and they never get it because it's a setup. It's a setup. It's a setup. Do you understand? It's a racket. These people know each other. They work with each other. They're friends behind the scenes. But in public, in the media, they pretend to be fighting with each other. And always, miraculously, what is the result? You get screwed. Wow. Funny how there's never any Republican obstruction for aid to Israel, right? There's never any Republican obstruction for giving money to the corporations and vice versa, right? There's no Democrat obstruction for that. Weird, right? Weird. There was no obstruction when Biden came up with the biggest military budget in modern history, right? And then added another 20 billion. Weird how there's never any obstruction for any of these things. It's only for shit that would help workers. How miraculously bizarre. How peculiar. How odd. And I want to quote a tweet over here from Twitter. This is from your boy Spittin'. Indeed, he's spittin'. He says, they could offset the entire balance of the DNC machine if they wanted to. Their numbers are greater than a majority vote differential. If you don't make any noise, you never get noticed. They vote along party lines 98% of the time. That's not ruckus. That's fuck us. And he's talking about the squad, obviously, right? So this is theater over here. This is theater to me because they knew that this was going to expire. They knew this is coming, the eviction moratorium. If they don't know that, they're incompetent. They shouldn't be in Congress. Are you with me? Nancy Pelosi, she's lying in every tweet. She's a liar. Supreme Court was very clear on what needs to be done. So there you go, man. This is the conclusion. They went on vacation for 6 weeks now. They made sure that Americans who face eviction are screwed. There's no extension of the moratorium, even though it's their responsibility. And again, let's be clear. This eviction moratorium, extending it, this is a temporary solution. You shouldn't have a homelessness crisis in the richest country on earth. I mean, this is a given. I shouldn't really have to spell this out for you. That this is emblematic of the corruption we're talking about that I've just listed to you over and over. That I've iterated and elaborated on a million times. This is emblematic of the corruption that we're talking about. They make sure there's no social safety net, there's no housing, that you have a homelessness crisis. How the fuck do you have a homelessness crisis in a nation continent, in a state continent? Do you know how big America is? The United States? Do you know how big this country is? It's a state continent. How they have more money than any country on earth. This should not be a thing. And yet it is. Why is it a thing? Because of greed. Because of the greed from these people. They're not incompetent. They're greedy. They're corrupt. Do you understand? And it's to such an extent. I mean, it's to a level that is unbelievable. It's like, the tinier countries, and all countries have corruption, but even tinier countries with less resources don't do this shit. Of course you have homelessness and other issues in other countries, but not to this level. This is scandalous. This is absolutely scandalous. It's like nothing has been learned from 2009. You remember the housing crisis? What happened in 2009? Obama comes in, he bails out all these bankers, these bastards, the scourge of the planet, right? These corporations, the banks who played with people's money and, they screwed everyone over. They screwed the economy. Well, that's also the nature of capitalism, but they took it to another level. And who got screwed in the end? Did any of these people go to jail? No. They were bailed out. They got a get out of jail free card, right? And money with it too. And who lost their homes? Americans, right? And now, again, you have a similar situation where the government has favored corporations. They've given them so much money for the last year. They've used this pandemic as an excuse to give trillions and trillions to them, you know? And what do you get? What, you know, why does this continue? Why does this continue? So just remember that this is all an act, and they know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to play stupid. No, they know exactly that this would happen. They let it happen.